Canada ends 2025 on a high with another clean sheet, defeating Venezuela 2-0 thanks to goals from Ismail Kone and Promise David. But yes, this wasn't one of Canada's better performances. This wasn't an exciting win under Jesse Marsh. It was truly a poor performance, a slow, a lethargic win from the Canadian men's national team. But what truly matters is the result, is the win. And that is what was important. Canada managed to score 2 goals and keep a clean sheet while playing poorly. And that is impressive on its own. The fact that Canada was able to get the job done, able to get the results, get back scoring goals once again, and keeping a solid defense is truly impressive when you're not playing your best football, playing in a poor atmosphere with no support, no crowd behind you to really get the players going. The fact Canada was able to play and get a win in this sort of circumstance was truly impressive. Yes, it wasn't something to get truly excited by, but there is still a lot of takeaways from this match and from Canada against Venezuela. How far Canada has come since that penalty shootout victory over Venezuela in the quarterfinals of the Copa America is truly unbelievable. Before, we were excited to beat Venezuela on penalties, talking about it being one of our best victories in the nation's history. Now we're looking at beating a poor Venezuelan side 2-0 during a poor Canadian performance and saying, we should have done better, we should have scored more, we should have played better. That just shows how far and how much these expectations around this national team has risen under Jesse Marsh. And that is just impressive to the work Jesse Marsh has done, to the work around this player pool, and how good this national team has become under Jesse Marsh. The fact that we can talk about a better performance and wanting more against Venezuela after winning 2-0 compared to one of our best results in the nation's history against Venezuela in the Copa America, which was on penalties, is incredible. But there is still a lot of takeaways, even though it was a poor performance, such as the clinical finishing or lack of. Promise David and Richie Laryea looking incredible and arguably deserving to be a lock into this starting lineup, and another incredible performance defensively. We're going to jump into it all and break it all down, including my player ratings. But before we do, guys, jump into the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Canada against Venezuela. Hit that like button and drop a sub because your support has been absolutely incredible. But let's jump straight into it, because clinical finishing was another key point that came up in this game. Yes, Canada managed to score 2 goals once again. They managed to find the back of the net on multiple occasions. Ismail Kone's shot might have been going off target, but it still managed to find the back of the net, and that is what matters. Being able to score even when you're playing poor is a major thing in football, and Canada managed to do that. But also, it was like a light switch throughout this game. Canada could have been out of sight, out of mind, in cruise control going into halftime and up 3-0 if it wasn't for the lack of clinical finishing in certain points and times from this Canadian men's national team. You saw Ismail Kone score early on for Canada, but later in the half, Ismail Kone missed a sitter for the Canadian men's national team, and further into the half, Jonathan David laid it onto a platter for Tajon Buchanan, who then skied it over the net, making this game stay at 1-0 going into the half when it should have been 3-0. And if Canada is more clinical, if Canada takes their chances, this game is out of sight, out of mind, in cruise control, and nobody is talking about a poor performance when you're up 3-0 at halftime. But then comes the second half where Promise David comes onto the pitch with 20 minutes to go. Doesn't get any chances besides one that falls to him on a plate right in the six, and it was a great ball from Nico Sigor, who had a great performance himself. But Promise David, when given chances, when given opportunities, has an incredible record for the Canadian men's national team. And he got his one chance, and he took it brilliantly. Took a great touch, composed himself, and placed it into the back of the net. Promise David didn't need to blast it. He didn't need to go full power on his finish in the 18. He perfectly placed it into the back of the net like a true finisher that he is, and which he's proven for Union Saint-Gilloise as well as the Canadian men's national team when given his opportunities. And Promise David is now making a true test and a true argument for him to start over Tani Oluwase. I'm going to support anyone in this national team. I have backed Tani Oluwase and the skill set he brings to Canada. But what Promise David brings to this national team is something that we really don't have right now. It is that clinical and deadly finishing in front of goal, and when given few opportunities, being able to take them and do the most with every single opportunity you have. And Promise David also changes how Canada plays a little bit. And yes, he might not fit systematically, tactically, to a T what Jesse Marsch wants, but he is still the best finisher Canada has right now, the most on-form finisher Canada has right now, and he can take chances with very few opportunities. And that is what you need in a World Cup side, in a side going into a major tournament. And if Promise David can deliver that consistently, which he's already proving to do, I think he has to be a lock and starting ahead of Tani Oluwase. And I think that is going to be another major question mark going into the World Cup and even the March international window, because Promise David now deserves to start for this Canadian men's national team. But another huge takeaway is the back line once again. It was immense, it was incredible, and a strong performance all around the pitch, especially from the entire team as a unit. That back line was strong, but this team defensively, yes, the press wasn't on. That counter press wasn't great from Canada against a poor Venezuelan national team. Sometimes it's not going to be there. Sometimes in a hot climate in Fort Lauderdale with no crowd backing you and no excitement from the fans or the atmosphere, the press might lack sometimes. It might be a bit difficult to trigger once in a while. But the fact Canada had a strong, resolute back line, giving up minimal chances once again, besides one late into this match in the 90th minute at the death, where Maxime Crepeau came up trumps, making an incredible save and proving why there is still a goalkeeper conversation for this team, is incredible. And this backline continues to prove that Canada is built off a solid defensive unit and a team performance and shape. And they continue to do it once again. Might I remind you, this is now 5 clean sheets out of their last 6. This comes against Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Romania, and Wales. The only game they didn't manage to keep a clean sheet in the last couple of windows was against Australia in Montreal, where they conceded 1 goal. This Canadian backline is truly difficult to break down, doesn't give up any major chances, and this, might I remind you, is not their first choice back line. You can argue Richie Laryea might now be their first choice left back. You can argue Alfie Jones is now a top 3 center back for Canada. You can argue Nico Seeger should be starting at right back for Canada. But they're not Canada's out and out first choice back line. And that is truly a testament to how well Jesse Marsch sets up this Canadian men's national team, to how well they play as a unit, and how well they continue to play on a regular and consistent basis together. And as long as that tactical and systematic system is in place for this Canadian side, you can plug and place these players as long as they're ready to play for that badge. That looks like this system is perfect for this Canadian men's national team, especially defensively. But we have to talk about some key performances and some major ones before diving into the player ratings. I think Ismail Koenig was fantastic, Richie Laryea, Alfie Jones, Nico Seeger, and even Promise David. There was a lot of poor performances on that pitch, but there was also some great ones as well. Alfie Jones had a terrific debut for the Canadian men's national team, arguably a man of the match shout for myself, but I won't be giving him man of the match. I thought he was fantastic on his debut, snuffed out a couple major chances, making some great tackles, and this isn't an easy defensive side to step into right away for your debut. He doesn't play this sort of a system for Middlesbrough, so this was a huge transition for Alfie Jones, and to be able to step into this Jesse Marsch high line, pressing from the front, is very impressive for a centre-back to jump into immediately and have such a good performance. Richie Laryea at left-back. How can you not start him now? I was on this train for some time that I don't think he is a lock. And I still don't think he is a lock for this national team. But it is a major question now how you don't start Richie Laryea in this Canadian men's national team. He was the best player throughout this window once again and continues to prove to Jesse Marsch that he deserves to start for Canada at BMO Field to open the World Cup in 2026. Ismail Kone was fantastic, scoring a goal, carrying the ball very well, and creating chances, and Promise David speaks for himself with coming on, taking one chance, and also having some great hold-up play throughout that match. And the set pieces as well. Yes, we didn't score from them, but we're fantastic from Stefan Eustaquio. But let's dive straight into the player ratings before we continue to talk about every single player. Maxime Crépeau, for me, didn't have a whole lot to do throughout this match until later in the game, later into the 90th minute. For me, I'm giving him a 7.5. Maxime Crépeau didn't have a lot to do throughout the game, making some great high claims off a couple corners and set pieces. And as well, his distribution was absolutely remarkable from Maxime Crépeau. Later in the game, making a fantastic save to keep the clean sheet for this Canadian men's national team to continue a 5 out of their last 6 clean sheets, and proving why there's still a goalkeeper conversation between Crépeau and Dayne St. Clair. But moving on to right back is Nico Segor, who I'm going to give a 7.5 to. I thought Nico Segor was great. Did another good job defensively, didn't make any mistakes. You didn't notice him throughout most of the game, which is exactly what you want from your fullback, unless you're Richie Laryea, who's going to cause all sorts of trouble, both going everywhere across the pitch. But Nico Segor is a player who does his work, gets the job done, neat, tidy, no problems, no concerns, gets forward very well, has a great assist to Promise David, sets him up perfectly to find the back of the net, and Nico Segor as well is making a huge conversation to why he might deserve a starting role at the 2026 World Cup. Alfie Jones for me gets an 8 match rating. He wasn't my man of the match. He definitely was in consideration, but he had a terrific debut, and like I said, stepping into that back line and this Jesse Marsch style of play for a center back is extremely difficult when you've only been with the team for 10 days, and the fact that he did it to such a high level was very impressive. Derek Cornelius got the start, but for me, coming off very early due to an injury, hopefully he's okay. I can only give him a 6, an average right in the middle, because he didn't have time to prove himself or to really do anything to impact the football match. But my man of the match is Richie Laryea. Richie Laryea for me gets a 9. I'm a huge supporter of Richie Laryea. I'm a big fan of Richie Laryea. I don't know how you bench him now. This is a player who is a tone setter for Canada. He truly has become that, and I absolutely love what he brings to this national team week in, week out, every single camp, no matter which game he's called upon, whatever he can do defensively going forward. Richie Laryea brings you something special, and it is a great problem for Jesse Marsch to have and will be a major thing for him to deal with. But what Richie Laryea did this game was remarkable. Defensively, he was a rock, didn't get caught ball watching throughout this game, got forward very well to create chances for his Canadian men's national team, helped set up that, of course, Ismail Kone goal as well. This was a great all-around performance from Richie Laryea, and a true rage baiter as well to get that red card for the Venezuelan. And this, for Richie Laryea, was a man-of-the-match performance, in my opinion. Moving on to the midfield is Jayden Nelson, who I'm unfortunately giving a 5 to. Got his opportunity, he got his well-deserved start, and unfortunately didn't take it. It was a hard game in Fort Lauderdale, in the heat, no crowd, no atmosphere, but also the whole team was off. It wasn't a great performance from the entire final third for Jayden Nelson to get a part of. Unfortunately, he had a poor performance as well, and this was one game where Jayden Nelson got his opportunity. You would have liked to see him snatch at it, take it, but he unfortunately didn't do that. So Jayden Nelson for me gets a 5. Moving into the other wing, it's Tajon Buchanan, who also gets a 5 match rating for me. Missed a major chance to make this game 2-0. Didn't do great in the final third, losing possession, not creating any major chances, and not linking up play with Jonathan David and Tani Oluwase very well. But moving on to the heart of the midfield, where I thought there was another 2 good performances from Ismail Kone and Stefan Eustaquio. Stefan Eustaquio, I'm going to give an A2. I thought he had a great performance once again. Yes, it wasn't his best, but He did very well commanding the midfield, showing his leadership, winning some major tackles, tracking back, not ball watching. Another good performance from Stefan Eustaquio and Ismail Kone. I'm giving an 8-2 as well. Yes, you can argue the red card should bring down his rating, but I'm not going to put that on him at all. It was a abysmal officiating performance once again, and I'm not here to talk about the officiating once again. I'm just here to talk about how good Canada played. Because Ismail Kone had a great performance, barring the red card, which wasn't at his fault. Ismail Kone impacted the game, created chances, got on the ball very well, and also dribbled and controlled possession when needed to. He helped create chances as well throughout this game, scored the goal for Canada, which was their first goal in about 7 halves. And yes, it was from open play, but it doesn't matter to me whether it's from open play or from a set piece. As long as the ball finds the back of the net for Canada, that is all that matters. And Ismail Kone managed to do that for this Canadian men's national team, so he gets an 8. We're moving on to the front line. And it's going to be a 5 match rating from Jonathan David and Taniela Loise. Two, unfortunately, very poor performances. And we'll start with Taniela Loise. Tanny's runs weren't great this game. His opportunities off set pieces, he wasn't able to get to the end of. His link-up play wasn't great. It was a poor performance from Taniela Loise, and he looks off confidence. He isn't able to create any chances for Canada. He's not able to get on the end of things, and his lack of goal scoring for the national team is starting to become a major problem of concern. And yes, he might fit the style of play very well, but for so long, you can't be relying on a style of play. You need a number 9 who can put the ball in the back of the net, and Canada has someone on the bench who can do that in Promise David. And Jonathan David, this is sad to see. A player who looks off form, a player who doesn't look like himself, a player who needs minutes at the club level. Jonathan David might have had one of his worst performances for me in a Canadian shirt. But now this is one where Canada can look back, they can say they've scored without Jonathan David affecting play to a true level. Jonathan David, whenever he got on the ball, whenever he was close to the ball, his runs were off, his control was off. It was almost like he was a step behind the pace throughout the entire match, which was unfortunate to see, which was very sad to see, because this is a star player that Canada needs to rely on. But the fact that we didn't have to rely on him against Venezuela was a major key point, and very exciting to see as well. We need Jonathan David further up the pitch and not impacting from such a deeper role in the midfield. I've been talking about this for some time. I don't want to see Jonathan David as a deep-lying false 9 trying to create and link up play within the midfield. That isn't his best role. Get him in the box, get him finishing chances and scoring goals, and I believe that Promise David, that'll bring the best in him. Let's move on to the bench and the players who came on. Promise David, I'm giving it an 8.5 to. Great performance off the bench, putting away a major chance to seal a 2-0 victory for the Canadian men's national team. Joel Waterman came on very early for Derek Cornelius, and I'm giving him an 8 as well. What a performance, what a camp, and what a couple matches Joel Waterman has had. Yes, he's not a fan favorite. I love Joel Waterman. I think he brings a great level to this national team with his experience, his level of know-how, as well as his aerial presence. Joel Waterman seems to win every single duel in the air, and it's extremely exciting, and it reminds me of what Stephen Vittoria did a few years ago for this national team, winning every single aerial duel, and Joel Waterman can do that as well, and his ability to read the game seems to improve every single opportunity Joel Waterman has for this national team. So what a window and what a performance for Joel Waterman. Mathieu Choinière, I'm giving a 6 match rating for, as well as Jonathan Osorio. Two players who came onto this match, didn't really get on the ball, didn't have any opportunities to get on the ball, and it was just a end of the game and a substitution where they didn't impact the game at all, whether negatively or positively, so I'll give them an average 6. While on the other hand, Jacob Schaffelberg, I unfortunately have to give a 4.5 to. He came onto this game, came into this camp with a niggling injury, as well left out of the squad, comes in for Kyle Larin, gets an opportunity here off the bench, and looked poor unfortunately. Didn't get on the ball well. When he did, he lost possession, not able to hold on to it. Had a chance later in the game where he had space to break into, takes a poor touch and loses it to the Venezuelan defender. Wasn't a great cameo from Jacob Schaffelberg. But for me, it might have been a poor performance from Canada, but what matters is they got the job done. 3 points, a win, a clean sheet, multiple goals, Promise David, Ismail Kone, and a fantastic Alfie Jones debut. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments about Canada defeating Venezuela 2-0. Drop your thoughts down below. Make sure to smash that like button, hit that sub button, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.